Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video number 375, True Christian Prayer. Now, interesting that I'd be covering that topic, and I guarantee that I will be attacked, especially on the comments section on new tech, but, wiser individuals will hear me out here. It's intriguing that perhaps a pagan like myself knows more about this topic than most Christians. Hindus have admitted the same about their religion. People that are like native to India I've seen documentaries where people have pointed this out, and they seem bemused by the fact that foreigners often know more about the Vedas and so forth. They know more about their gods and the history behind them and the practice than a lot of technically practicing Hindus. Within Christendom, you have the concept of being lukewarm. God will spit you out if you're lukewarm. Be hot or cold, you're either with us or against us, kind of. If you're sort of straddling the middle line, you're saying that you're a Christian, but you're not really walking the walk, you're going to hell, basically. If you have that literalistic interpretation of the doctrine, which I don't really have. Here's what prayer really pertains to. Because I see people saying, like, wake up, pray up, and stupid shit like that on Twitter and elsewhere, and proclaiming themselves to be particularly religious. That's not what prayer is. Prayer is not you have decided to mumble out a few scripted lines to the Lord. Prayer is not in your time of need you say, oh, Jesus, please help me, or something like that. That's not what it pertains to. That is lukewarm Christianity. Just to be clear, if you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. I say this as a former Satanist, but I was also a former Christian, so I do realize I have read the Bible, just to be clear. Some people seek to ignore what I say, even if it is true, simply because of how I look, how I speak, my past, etc. Be interesting if you judged your fellow Christians, by the way, who are actually practicing by that same metric. Think you'd be a little bit more lonely in your life. Oh, my pastor was a beatnik 20 years ago. Clearly, I can't listen to what he says. Oh, shit, that actually informed his religiosity. Well, I better ignore him anyway because, he smoked the devil's lettuce at some point in the last 10 years. Here's what prayer really pertains to. Prayer is a constant state of mindfulness. Prayer is internal. That is, it's not you giving an oratory with a bunch of other people. You are specifically commanded, if you're a Christian, by Jesus to keep your prayer private, by the way. Yes, you can have public gatherings, celebrations, say, oh Lord, bless this meal and stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. As far as the deep meditative prayer, which is much more mystic in nature, you weren't supposed to do that around other people. You might have a small fraternal congregation of like-minded mystics that's doing that. You weren't supposed to put it on public display. You were explicitly commanded in this particular instance. Pittance prayers do nothing. Saying, going to bed at night, you say the Lord's Prayer or something. Okay, that's cute. Are you really being mindful, though, of the presence of your Lord? Or are you just basically just repeating the words that you've been taught to repeat? For most people, sadly, it's the latter. They're not actually mindful. Their mind is not in it. Their spirit is not in it. Their words are in it. It's empty. It means nothing. It's like watching a pastor up on stage with his Rolex and his $5,000 suit usually, rambling about the nature of spirituality, but there's no real mentality behind it. There's no deeper mystic understanding of the doctrine. There is no personal relationship with Jesus Christ or with any other deity. You see this in every religion, by the way. You think that the average rabbi up on praying before the congregation actually spends a significant amount of time mindful on anything other than the legalistic aspects of the scriptures, which will be asked about by congregants? No. They're not going off into the cave and feeling the light of their God Yahweh or anything like that. They're just repeating things that they've read. It's very legalistic. Again, the mind may be in it. At least with the legalism, your mind is also in it, because you do have to have a sharp mind to remember all of the rules, especially in a path like Judaism. Pitiful. But your spirit's not in it. The heart's not there. You can have all of these three layers of religion, basically. You can have the total brain-dead take, which is, hey, once in a while I pray. I'm a Christian. Well, your mind's not even in it. You can be a very legalistic religious person, or you can be truly mystic, truly spiritual. And I don't say mystic as in a magical path of mysticism. I'm saying mystically minded, just to be clear. So don't think that I'm encouraging you to join the occult. I'm trying to drive the Christians out of the flock. No, actually, I would rather you actually be religious. Maybe if Christians were more actually mindful of the true spiritual nature of Jesus Christ and of their God, it would improve things. I think you'd be spending less time in church being useless and being, in some cases, lied to by people who know less about Christianity than many non-Christians and less about the doctrine of Jesus Christ. And you'd spend more time being charitable to the poor, more time helping the widows, that's what you would do. And by the way, works is a part of it. It's a natural manifestation of that same mental state. If you are in the constant praying state of mind, thinking about look around me. Here's an injustice over there. What can I do to ameliorate it? I have just had a bad thought. How can I prevent that from happening? Yes, if you have a lapse and you lust even once, it's the same as if you committed literal fornication. You have to prevent yourself. You have to train and meditate yourself into a mystic state where that never happens, to purify oneself. Now, Jesus also says you're going to fall short of that. You will lapse, you will have problems, etc. That's natural, but you're seeking to perfect yourself and your mind and your spirit insofar as it's possible to do so. You will be tempted, and you will see the anime titties or whatever the fuck you saw, and be tempted or something like that. You will be tempted to cheat. You're like, well, I could get away with stealing $1,000 right now. Damn, I could really use that. And I've got kids. You can even justify it. Well, I've got kids, so, I could get them nice things, and that's a good thing, right? Well, my boss is just going to use it as a payment for his next bimbo or something. So it's actually justified if I take this money. Once you get into that frame of mind, you've totally broken the mystic sort of thought thing. You've broken your meditation, your prayer. Prayer is not yada yada, Lord save my sinful soul, Hail Mary full of grace. It's not prayer. It's a state of mind that goes beyond that. It can be paired with words. You can chant. You can do Buddhist hymns or something like that. Put yourself in a similar state of mind. By the way, I would say that most mystic ends of most mainline religions effectively teach this. It's more openly thought of this way in maybe Hinduism or Buddhism than it is in more Western religious traditions. Part of that's because of the Protestant work ethic thing. Well, more is accomplished on your feet than on your knees, which, I do agree with that. I don't have a problem with it. But it's not exactly necessarily mystic in mind. Unless by working with your hands and standing on your feet, you're building something for the homeless. You're serving up soup for the poor, something like that. You're helping the world. You should try to purge your thoughts at every possible opportunity, constantly keeping in mind, during every waking hour, constantly keeping your religion and your goodness and what is good or evil, what is just or unjust in mind. Pittance prayers do nothing. If you truly believe in Jesus Christ as your personal Savior and the Lord your Creator, the one true God, and all of these other things, the great I am, then you can't do the pittance prayer thing unless you want to go to hell, effectively, if you believe in the literal interpretation of hell. Again, I question the veracity of that literal interpretation. It's really talking about other things, as I've explained, but would you want to risk it? Or do you want to become literally one with God, effectively? I think most people, if they believe in that tradition, they would want to choose the latter. That's about all. Peace out.